Major underwriting for A Taste of Louisiana with Chef John Folse was provided by the Baton Rouge Convention and Visitors Bureau. In Baton Rouge, our past is your present. Baton Rouge, authentic Louisiana at every turn. And People's Drugstores, serving South Louisiana for generations. George and Shirley Picu are proud supporters of A Taste of Louisiana with Chef John Folse. And by the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting. Our mission is to tell Louisiana's story to the world. And by the Louisiana Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism.
Where you have this architecture, history, music.
And the bittersweet cry of the blues.
Especially the blues.
There you go.
How about a dozen?
Red beans and rice.
We rolling, y'all.
We're a nation of immigrants, a country with roots in other soils. Nowhere is that more true than in the country of Louisiana. I'm Chef John Folse, inviting you to tune in to A Taste of Louisiana and a new series dedicated to our food heritage. Louisianians are descendants of 7 primary nations that have influenced every dish we cook today. Welcome to A Taste of Louisiana.
Oh, hush, hush. Jesus is calling my name. Oh, hush.
How are y'all doing? Nice to see y'all.
Jesus
nice to
is
see
calling my name.
All right,
oh, hush. Jesus is calling my name. Oh, my Lord, what shall I do?
Oh, what shall I do, y'all? Y'all, I tell you, Judy Whitney Davis, do I need to say anything else? Thank you so much. What beautiful. Y'all, what a great audience. Thank y'all all so much for being here with us today as we continue to search out and, of course, discover, I should say, all of the wonderful cultures and cuisines that set the Great Bayou State apart from the other 49. There's no doubt about that. Our good food, our good culture. And today, I'm excited to be doing the cuisines and culture of Africa. So it's so nice to have so many of you in here and so many young African Americans in the audience too today. I applaud y'all. Thank you so much for being here. So y'all, sit down, relax, have a good time. Kid with your neighbor a little bit, because I tell you, I'm cooking some Gumbo Z'Herbes and I'm cooking, too many things to even think about cooking, y'all. Just sit back. Yams, red beans, rice, melons, okra, eggplant. That just sounds like a grocery list for a good Sunday dinner in South Louisiana. But these are the foods indigenous to West Africa, the homeland of most of Louisiana's African Americans. Dr. Gwendolyn Midlo Hall and Professor Eileen Julian spoke with me about the roots of much of Louisiana's wonderful African cuisine. Most scholars believe that Africa was the birthplace of man. If true, then man's first meal was prepared and eaten in Africa. Foods indigenous to West Africa were yams, peas, beans, rice, sesame, pumpkins, melons, okra, eggplant, mangoes, plums, cashews, and even coffee. In West Africa, okra was a popular vegetable prized for its thickening ability. Gumbo, the African word for okra, became the name of Louisiana's most famous soup, which is generally made with okra and seafood or poultry.
The first reference I found to gumbo was 1764, and this was in testimony by runaway slaves living in New Orleans and very close by. And they had feasts in the French Quarter in which they sent out to the market to buy food for creating gumbo, and they explained that they all bought filet as well as seafood.
Black-eyed peas, a popular Southern dish, is always served on New Year's Day in Louisiana for health in the new year. One of the most famous dishes in Southern cooking, Hoppin John, is a combination of black-eyed peas and rice.
When I was in Senegal, I visited the region near the mouth of the Senegal River, and you would think that you were in the Louisiana wetlands. There are pelicans, there are the same crustaceans, there are fish, and then of course there was rice.
Rice is a staple of the African diet. It's used for breakfast to make rice water a porridge-like dish similar to Louisiana's rice pudding. As in Africa, rice is served here with stews and soup, and rice flour is used as a thickening agent. Moi moi or couscous, a favorite African dish, is served in Louisiana as red beans and rice.
The main dish of the day is a dish that has much rice. But in the evening, you might have a little couscous, or you might just have the meat with bread and salad.
Black pepper, which originated in Sumatra, was used as money. Even taxes and dowries were paid with pepper.
You don't get Senegalese food without parsley, garlic, and hot pepper.
In West Africa, chicken was a dish for festive occasions and honored guests, most commonly served stewed over boiled yams or rice. In Louisiana, popular Sunday meals still consist of fried, stewed, or smothered chicken.
Part of the reason that Senegalese cooks are so extraordinary is that I think they love cooking. I think people love cooking. They love good food, and they love plenty, and they love visitors.
The flavors of Africa incorporated so nicely into the Louisiana diet that I'm surprised we haven't yet adopted their famous greeting. When an African returned from travel, they were not asked, "Did you have a good time?" but, "Have you eaten well?" Whether in Africa or Louisiana, you can bet they did. Well, there's no doubt about it, right? You know that we will have eaten well in Louisiana no matter where we come back from our visits. We're always searching out great food, great culinary technique, and people to share it with. And a lot of that comes, of course, to us as gifts from the Africans. That's their philosophy. That's certainly the creed of the African table. So we thank these folks for just great words. And a couple of great guests to help us talk a little bit about this in the kitchen today. I'm going to start with Michael Firvin, because he's a professor of history at Southern University, sitting at the table here with us. Michael, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you, Tyler.
Of course, there's no way in the world we'd be able to cook anything in Louisiana without the queen of Creole cooking, Leah Chase from the famous Dooky Chase's restaurant in New Orleans. All good cooking starts right there with that lady. Dr. Tom Durant from LSU, another professor at LSU, from LSU. Nice to have you. And he brought some great artifacts, so we're certainly going to talk to him a little bit about that. Lorraine Maholola. Was that close? Lorraine Maholola from South Africa is here. You have a group from South Africa. Huh? So nice. So nice to have you. She flew in this morning just for me. Actually, she's here with the church group, and I snagged her away. What a wonderful lady. And Annie Daniels frequents West Africa quite often with Dr. Durant. They go on culinary tours, and we want to talk a little bit about the food similarities, the food's differences between Louisiana. And so welcome to you as well. And then, of course, Judy Whitney Davis, the voice of my kitchen, y'all. When she opens those lungs, watch out. That's all I'm going to tell you. What a wonderful lady you are. So what are the foods we want to talk about today? Well, I'm going to have Keith look in my big basket here, because this is a basket of typical foods of Africa. And here I have someone from Africa sitting right in front of me here. The black-eyed peas, the black and white sesame seeds, that's in a lot of the cooking. The yams, the okra, of course the peppers, a lot of hot peppers in African cooking, right? More so than Louisiana here. Rice, a great gift to Louisiana from the Africans, and most of the slaves coming from that area came because they were fabulous grain growers, and rice was one of them. And of course, you know, today, Louisiana is a rice state. Tomatoes, naturally, and see this? Tell them what that is. Cassava root, y'all, right here, another great African dish. So just some of the ingredients, certainly not all of them, but I want to show you what I'm cooking here. I'm doing what the Africans taught us so well to do: make use of everything. make use of everything in the pot. From the big house, they were getting scraps into the slave cabins, and they certainly knew how to turn it into masterpieces. So the Spanish of Louisiana would have brought this wonderful squash here, this melliton or chayote squash, to Louisiana. And of course, the Spanish giving it to the African cooks. The Africans learned to boil it and split it in half and dig out the ingredients in the swamps of Louisiana, and then of course keep the meat of the squash. It's a squash-like plant, and then mix it with a lot of the flavors that they knew so well in Louisiana: the shrimp, the crawfish, things that they could get a hold of, shrimp out of the Mississippi River. And here it is right here. So let me show you how it goes together in the skillet. One of the things that I think about when I think of African contributions to our kitchen is combinations that other parts of the country have never heard of, because we'll mix meat and seafood, we'll mix vegetables and seafood like eggplant stuffed with shrimp and ground pork. An African gift, spicing it up, getting all those things mixed together. Leah, when we talk about Creole cooking and African American cooking, how do you define Creole cuisine for us?
Oh, well, Creole is a good mixture. A lot of it, it can be French and Spanish, but in our area, it is mostly African.
Yeah.
Great African influence in my Creole. In the Creoles de Curler, is a lot of African influence, sweetheart.
So a lot, and the dishes that we cook with all of the mixtures of meat and seafood and vegetables all together, very typical of the Creoles borrowing that style from Africa as well.
That's right.
So y'all, I'm having my onion, celery, bell pepper. I've got a little garlic going in here because the Africans, you heard, they love garlic, right? Whoo, garlic and pepper. You have a lot of pepper? Huh? Well, I tell you what, I'm not going to chop it. I'm going to just put the whole thing in right there, huh? No, I have some nice cayenne here, y'all, going right into the dish because the Africans really like to spice it up. And then, of course, the meat of the melliton. Leah, one other question, because we're talking about restaurants. You certainly are known as one of the greatest restaurateurs in New Orleans. African Americans early on, prior to integration, didn't eat in certainly most of the white restaurants, obviously, but not even in many of the black restaurants, right?
No, they did not. They ate at home. Everybody cooked at home for a long time. I think we ate at home a lot because that was our parents' way of protecting us from anything. Parents try to protect you from anything. So they didn't tell us we couldn't. It was segregated there. You couldn't eat there. They would tell us, you don't want to eat there, the glasses are not clean. I don't want to eat there, the silver's not clean. We didn't even question that to say, well, my goodness, they must have some method of cleaning these things. We just went with Mother said. When you went to the movie, you sat up high, and, you sit up here because you can see better. All that kind of stuff. So we went on with that.
So they were taking care of you as best they could.
They took care of us well, yeah.
But I know that your restaurant was one of the first integrated restaurants in New Orleans.
One of the first, yeah. People came because they had meetings there, civil rights meetings where people had to meet and get together with people.
And so
they came anyway to see. That was illegal, but anyway, sometimes we.
You see that, y'all? Illegal. Good food at Leah Chase just handle all of the integration segregation issues, right there. Good food at Leah Chase.
Okay.
All right. So y'all, I have the melliton cooked really nicely here. I would put some shrimp into it. I'd put some crawfish into it. I'd put some jumbo lump crab meat into it. I think you get the idea. I'd add a little breadcrumb seasoned with salt and pepper. And what would I do next? After this cools, I would put some of it into the shell of the melliton like this, bake it, put a little breadcrumbs on it, and then I'd bake it in a 350-degree oven for about 45 minutes, and that's what it looks like right here when it comes out. A great marriage of the Creoles of New Orleans and, of course, the Africans with their great innovative style of cooking. Spring in Louisiana, y'all, fabulous. The crawfish are running, the azaleas in bloom, and Holy Thursday brings a big pot of Gumbo Z'Herbes at the hand of the master, Chef Leah Chase. And Leah taught me how to make the original Gumbo Z'Herbes that I make for Holy Thursday, and what a lesson she gave me. Y'all watch this. You know, I have to start this morning. Look, I got to bow to the queen. I got to bow to the queen of Creole cooking here today. How you doing, Leah?
I'm fine.
Y'all, I'm here with Leah Chase, and when I say the queen of Creole cooking, I mean it. In fact, her famous Dooky Chase's restaurant here in New Orleans has been an icon for so many years. And today, we're Holy Thursday.
Holy Thursday,
we're here to celebrate her world famous Gumbo Z'Herbes. Now,
that's right.
Leah,
Gumbo
tell me a little bit about the tradition of Gumbo Z'Herbes.
Well, you know, that's an old Creole tradition that you had this big meal before Good Friday. See, we were so Catholic, we didn't have anything. After Holy Thursday, you ate nothing or very little until noon on Saturday, which was the end of Lent.
Right.
So we made this great dish with a lot of greens because that's a spring thing. You do a lot of greens and then, of course, a lot of meat in it. And that is your meal for Holy Thursday, and that'll hold you over.
Right. So you kind of got your feel of all the meat.
You got your feel there. You got your feel of your meat before Good Friday, and Good Friday you didn't eat it.
Now, where do you think the gumbo itself came from? I know there's some story about the Africans brought it with them, but here in New Orleans, how did it evolve, you think?
I don't know. The Creoles, you know, it's a mixture of things. We make gumbos out of a lot of things, but this gumbo is very much like callaloo. They do a callaloo down in the island, so I guess up from Africa you learn that through the islands, and then you turn it to whatever you do.
Right.
And in New Orleans we turn it to Gumbo Z'Herbes.
Now there's also a tradition of how many greens can go into it, right?
Oh, that's important. That's very important. You know, Creoles are supposed to be superstitious, but we're
supposed to be.
We're not. We just don't take any chances. So don't go in this pot with even numbers. You have to have uneven numbers of greens. 5, 7, 9, 11, that kind of thing. Right. Uneven numbers.
And now let's talk about the type of greens. I know we have some here. This doesn't represent all of them,
no.
What would you normally put in the gumbo?
I would put collard greens. I would put kale. I would put mustard greens. I would put beet tops. That's important.
Yeah.
Spinach, a little cabbage. I like even if you got good carrot tops. That is interesting to put in there. And you put some cabbage in. And the one thing we used to put in, I don't know if you still can find it in your neck of the woods, was peppergrass.
Peppergrass. They used to pick that up between
We'd be in the neutral ground years ago, and I remember Leon Soniat, who's an old guy Leon was terrific.
Yeah.
And he said, Leah, we used to go around where Smoky Mary came in. That was a train. But that was before my time, not me. But we would pick up the peppergrass and wash it, and it has a little lemony, a little spicy taste to it.
And what about the meat? So we have 7 different greens or 9 different greens. Then the meat choices?
Yeah, you did a lot of meat in it. We put sausage. We put the chorizo in it, which is a Creole sausage with smoked sausage. You could put some andouille in it to give it good smoky flavor. We put ham. We put chicken, and we put veal stew. I never knew why those Creoles put the veal stew, because it gave no flavor, but I think the stew picked up the flavors.
Extra meat,
and boy, when you eat a piece of that meat, you picked up all the extra flavor.
Well, look, so the tradition may have come from Africa. Always an odd number of greens, a good supply of meat. You boil them all together, you ground it up, and Leah, I'm going to tell you what, I'm quitting talking about it here. Let's go ahead and taste it.
Let's get this.
Oh, is this, and look how nice and beautiful green that is.
That's nice and smooth. That's good.
Is that great?
That
Unbelievable.
is on target. That is good. I got to get another little bit.
Well, happy
sausage
Holy Thursday, Leah.
Right.
He won't know.
All right, y'all. Judy, thanks so much. Beautiful, beautiful music. We appreciate it. What a voice, I tell you. Look, let's you and I talk a little later about a business deal, okay? Y'all, what... All right, baby, that's what I'm talking about. And gumbo comes with it, Gumbo Z'Herbes. Y'all, wasn't that great, Leah Chase's famous green gumbo on Holy Thursday? What a historic piece of our culture. Thank you so much, Leah. Y'all tasting it. It came out all right? Well, if you take a look, Keith, if you take a look at this basket right here, I have all of the great greens, and of course, Leah said always an odd number of greens. So I wanted to show you some of the greens, but also some of the smoked meats, the salt meat, the pickle meat, the neck bones, a lot of smoked meats that the Africans would have used as a preservation method for meat by smoking and curing and brining, but at the same time found its way into all of our pots. And the next thing that I want to cook for you is a dish that we call Hoppin John. It's a black-eyed pea dish. During the Civil War, we think that a lot of the Confederate and Union soldiers took the black-eyed peas, the hard ones, put them in a pot of boiling water, and they bounced around the pot. And of course, it made the sound of things hopping in a pot. And the French word for black-eyed peas, pois pigeon, which is pigeon peas, of course, becomes pois pigeon or Hoppin John in the pot from the sound made in the kettle. Whether it's true or not, who knows? But what a good story. Anyway, my pot's nice and hot. Leah, again, I'm going to start my black-eyed pea Hoppin John with a little bacon fat. Oh, yeah, a little bacon fat. Yeah, I know. While I'm putting in my onion, celery, bell pepper, Michael, as a professor of history at Southern University, when you think of the Emancipation Proclamation after the Civil War, and so many people think of what it did for the African Americans in slavery, what are you teaching about it? What opportunities existed after the emancipation?
Well, the historical reality is that the Emancipation Proclamation, beyond the psychological impact, really had little of any effect on the enslaved African population, because the proclamation very specifically made reference to those areas that were in open rebellion against the Union. Right. And so therefore Lincoln made a proclamation that really had no teeth, in that it demanded the freeing of the slaves in the population that he had no control over.
Dr. Durant, what about these beautiful African artifacts you have, especially this one right here, the woman with the knot in the hair? Tell us about this.
Yes, this is a part of my collection that I've taken from different countries in West Africa.
Right.
Whenever I visit, I bring back a little bit of the culture. And this is a Fulani woman. The Fulani people are a nomadic people that travel throughout West Africa.
Right.
And this is a Fulani woman, spelled F-U-L-A-N-I, and they are very distinguished by their hair dress, you know.
Now, when you think about this right here, and I'll ask Annie the same question, tell me about the similarities and differences since you travel to South Africa, the differences and similarities in Louisiana and African cuisine today.
The similarities that I've noticed is the stews and the cooking with the fresh fruits and vegetables, especially the vegetables. The okra, they do the stewed okra, which is similar to our gumbo here.
Right.
The only difference is they don't really eat it with the rice like we do. They use the fufu instead.
Right. Well, a lot of similarities, and certainly what we're cooking today, you can bring all the way back from that first slave ship coming into our harbors. You can guarantee that a lot of this same foods were a part of that original group. And y'all, I mentioned earlier, I introduced all of y'all to my family, the African-American woman who raised my 7 brothers and sisters. The fact is, I think I have a picture of Mary Fascio that I wanted to show y'all. The only picture she would ever let us take of her, because she'd always say, "Get that camera away from me." But that's Mary Fascio right there, and you can see what she's saying. Get that camera away from me. Anyway, thank y'all for being in the audience with me today. Okay, I have my onion, celery, bell pepper, garlic. I have my Leah. I'm cooking black-eyed pea Hoppin John, but I'm putting in smoked sausage.
Yeah.
I'm putting in ham. I'm putting in some of that nice pickle meat.
That's
now
right.
Garlic, a lot of garlic.
A lot of garlic.
And a lot of my pepper. I got to throw my pepper in here too. And then, of course, my black-eyed peas. I'm going to put the black-eyed peas in the pot. Now, you can imagine this boiling around and coming up against the side of the pot. It's going to hop a little bit, Hoppin John. Raw rice goes into it. And, of course, as with all of these dishes, for every cup of rice, raw rice, a cup and a half of stock or water, a cup and a half, and it's going to cook just like a jambalaya. You noticing the similarities between the jambalaya? If you put tomato and rice in here, you're going to have in chicken, you're going to have the chicken jollof, the rice jollof, very similar to it. And so this cooks, it looks just like this when it's done. Take a look at this. Oh, beautiful, beautiful pot of rice. Oh, you're going to get it. Y'all just relax. You're going to get, and look over here very quickly, a pot of greens, a pot of greens with pot liquor, the beautiful candied yams from Africa, y'all. Not enough time to talk about the contributions of the Africans, but we love you, Africa, for all that you've done for Louisiana. Y'all, time flies when you're enjoying good food and great conversation with friends in the kitchen. Thanks for stopping by as we continue to explore our unique food heritage and cook up another great taste of Louisiana. I'm eating Hoppin John. Wish you were here. Thank y'all.
I'm gonna lay down my burdens down by the riverside. Come on, sing it. Down by the riverside. Down by the riverside.
To purchase the Encyclopedia of Cajun and Creole Cuisine by Chef John Folse, featuring more than 750 traditional recipes, a CD-ROM of the book, or a copy of the program featuring all 3 episodes of Today's Culture, call the number on your screen. Major underwriting for A Taste of Louisiana with Chef John Folse was provided by the Baton Rouge Convention and Visitors Bureau. In Baton Rouge, our past is your present. Baton Rouge, authentic Louisiana at every turn. And People's Drugstores, serving South Louisiana for generations. George and Shirley Picu are proud supporters of A Taste of Louisiana with Chef John Folse. And by the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting. Our mission is to tell Louisiana's story to the world. And by the Louisiana Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism.
Where you have this architecture, history, music,
And the bittersweet cry of the blues.
especially the blues.
There you go.
How about a dozen?
Red beans and rice.
We rolling, y'all.